Good evening, everyone. This is Tony Miller from Australia. After a discussion with Tyler Tolman just last week, I suggested that I could make a short video to encourage all of you to come to the IIPA International Iridology Symposium that's being held here on the Gold Coast in August of this year. In our discussion together, I was mentioning to him that Bernard Jensen was one of my teachers and became my very first mentor. And this was back in 1986. You can see a very young me and a much younger Bernard Jensen. So this was at the height of his teaching career when he had just released his big volume 2 that some of you might have seen. And he was just such a generous teacher. He taught his students absolutely everything that he knew. And no one knew the benefits of detoxing like he did. He actually had an amazing sanatorium at his Hidden Valley Ranch in California. And he had an office that was probably about 3 meters by 3 meters. And one whole wall was just full of testimonials from people who had come back from the worst kind of illnesses using his detox diets and his Kalema board that he was very famous for. Yes, he was definitely a person promoting the benefits of detoxing way before anyone else. And he was a wonderful, inspiring teacher when it came to iridology. And I was also at the very last class that he ever taught, which was, I think, in the year, it might have been 1998 or 9. I can't remember just the year it was, but you had to be personally invited to that. And I was one of the lucky people who got an invitation and got to see him do his last presentation to an audience. However, I'd also travelled to his home. I'd eaten with him and his wife Marie, had lunch together, and on a couple of occasions. And even at his home, he still wanted to tell you everything he knew about the iris. And I questioned him on a couple of things. For example, the European charts that I'd seen had the heart showing in the right iris as well as the left, and also in the medial sector, not just the lateral. And I questioned him about this, and he said, yes, my dear, I do know this to be true, but he said, I'm old, and my last edited chart was in 1984, and he said, I'm not going to do another chart edit. Now, he was into his 90s then. And actually, here I've got a photo here of us together. This is in the year 2000. So that's a year before he passed away. And that's his son, Art, with us together there. So he knew that there were things that he had not written about and things that the chart needed to have added. But he just smiled at me and he said, I'm going to have to leave that to people like yourself, Tony. I'm sure you will take students to the next level. And so he was wise because he wasn't arrogant. He knew that others would contribute to iridology as well and has left room for that to happen. So why would you want to come to the Iridology Symposium if Bernard Jensen passed away back in 2001? 18 years later, what is in it for attendees? Well, the most senior of the 11 presenters, that would be myself, Denny Johnson, who has done marvellous work with RAID, which explains the significance of eye patterns and the way that that relates to personality, and also the influence of birth order. He will be there. Ellen Jensen will be there. She's actually Art's wife, so she's the current Dr. Jensen, and myself. And between us three, we have over 100 years experience with iridology. Iridology research, iridology practitioner experience, and also iridology teaching. So in 2001, I arranged the first integrated iridology international conference in Sydney, and we had Dorothy Hall as one of our speakers. She was marvellous. She was an Australian icon, and she was a peer of Bernard's, and they used to have some pretty fiery conversations about different viewpoints on what was and wasn't so in the eye. But she was a marvellous teacher as well. And I mean, what would you give now to be in a room with her and all her wisdom and experience? But she too passed away early in this century. So I think it was about 2004, 2005. And so if you look at people like myself, like Denny, like Ellen, how long do you think we'll be around? And why not take advantage of us while we're still here and still firing on all cylinders between the ears, right? So we also have some amazing research being presented, including one topic that I know you'll be interested in. So Michelle Jones is an integrated iridologist. She's very experienced, and she's also an anti-aging specialist and a detox specialist. And she's done an 8-year study on the impacts that extreme detoxing has on the eye and the pigments in the eye. So does the eye change? How much does it change? What changes, if anything, in the eye when we do extreme detoxing? Now, we need to know this. And I've had some people say to me, is she going to, insist that a certain viewpoint? And I said, I know Michelle well enough to know that she will be presenting the facts. I always encourage all of my students to let the eye tell you its truth. We don't want to doctor evidence. We don't want to make things up to support our personal viewpoints. We want to know the truth. So this will be presented using facts, case histories, photographs taken 8 years ago, and then follow-up photographs, documented case histories. So that will be a fascinating section on new research. Another research project was done by Dr. Michael Salas. He's a naturopath from Los Angeles, and he's looking at the links between eye signs and the MTFHR gene. So that's also fascinating. And we have many other fabulous, fabulous topics. I know that Tyler himself wants to attend. I really would love to meet you. And I think Tyler's going to tell you about a little offer that I made. That's a bit of a surprise. So hope you enjoyed this little introduction to me. And I really, really hope that you will find the way to be there so that you don't have FOMO next year when you find out there probably won't be another symposium like this for maybe another 10 years. The last one was 11 years ago. So do whatever you need to, sell something to get the airfare, but be there. And I'll look forward to seeing you. Bye for now.